Hi, and welcome to my channel, Lily Makes Stuff. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Mimi cardigan. This cardigan was actually a Christmas present for my niece, whose nickname is Mimi, and she helped me come up with this design. So her vision for the cardigan was a big, comfy, slouchy, warm cardigan. So that is what we shot for. Just like all my other recent projects, the last 3 projects, I think, this does not use stitch counts for specific sizes. This uses your measurements so they can be very specific to you, and you don't have to necessarily use a specific type of yarn if you're in another country or don't have access to this specific yarn that I used. It should be easy to adapt. If you like what you see and you like this style of patterns and designs, then please subscribe to my channel because I've got some more coming. So I'm going to go over the things that I used. Like I said, you don't have to use this specific yarn. The gray sweater that you see in the pictures was made out of Yarn Bee's Alpaca Twist. The black one that you saw I used Buttercream Angel Hair. The Yarn Bee Alpaca Twist calls for, it says it's a medium weight yarn. The black one is considered what they consider bulky. Both of them call for a 6.5 millimeter hook, which is what I used for both designs. You're definitely going to need a measuring tape, stitch markers, tapestry needle. The buttons, my niece on the gray one did not want buttons. I put buttons on the black one. They're optional. They're not anything that you have to put on there. I did not do any specific directions for the buttons. You're just going to want to make sure that whatever button you pick is about the size of the opening of your stitches, so that it will slide. You don't have to do any specific button hole for the buttons. I just used the holes that naturally occurred with this design. If you use, you can use just a regular button that has regular holes, but you will need to use regular thread. Also, to give you some idea of how much yarn you might need, for the gray one, which was shorter, I used 10 skeins. For the black one, which is longer, I used 15. And the black one is 110 yards per skein, and this is 175 yards. If you are new to crochet and any of these terms or stitches are confusing for you, I do have other videos on my YouTube channel that you can check out that goes into a little more detail and is a little bit better for beginners. If you want a written pattern, there will be one on my website, lilymakestuff.com, so you can check that out. Okay, let's get started. So the first section we're going to make is the back panel, and you will need to know these 2 measurements. Measurement A, which is the middle of the upper arm, across to the other middle of the upper arm. So that's basically like halfway between your elbow and your shoulder. And I would measure it with your arms down. It's going to be a little bit longer with your arms down. A little bit truer of a measurement. But if you're worried about it being too baggy, you could measure it with your arms outstretched. It's on Barbie, it's about a 1/2 inch difference. So, okay, and then measurement B is going to be from your neck or your collar line down to whatever length you want the sweater. So you could crop it, do it here at your waist, make it at like where the top of your pants are. This is the widest part of her hips. Or you could go all the way down here and make it like a duster. So measurement B is going to be completely up to you. It's just how long you want the sweater to be. Okay, and the first part that we're going to start on, the back panel, is ribbing, is this ribbing. And all of the ribbing in the sweater is made exactly the same way. It's going to be 2 inches tall, and the widths are going to change. So we're going to make this ribbing the width of measurement A. But depending on your yarn, depending on your hook, will determine how many stitches you make. But no matter what, it needs to be 2 inches tall. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is the ribbing, and all of the ribbing in this pattern is made the same way. So this is the only time I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. You're going to start with a slip knot, and the ribbing needs to be 2 inches tall. So what I did was I chained till I got to the height I wanted. It's about 2 inches. Actually, it's just a little bit shy of 2 inches. It's going to expand a little bit. And we're also using double crochet in the back loop only. So you're going to chain however many you want, and then chain 2 more. The chain 2 here at the end is our turning chain, okay? And we're doing 2 because we're using double crochet, and it's a little bit taller than what a half double or a single crochet would be, okay? So we will double crochet into the 3rd chain from our hook, make a double crochet, which, if you don't know how to do double crochet, is you yarn over, insert your hook through the chain, pull the yarn through, and then yarn over again, pull through the first 2 and then the last 2. Okay, so I should have 5 double crochets, and then when you get to the end, going to chain 2 again, turn, and work in the back loop only. Okay, so here you can see the V across the top. Okay, and you're gonna, this is the front, that's the back. So we're gonna yarn over, go through the back loop only, yarn over, pull through, go through the first 2 loops, and then the last 2 loops, okay? And work your way back down, and make sure every time that you have the correct number of stitches, because ribbing is easy to drop a stitch. This last one kind of blends. Okay, so here is our back loop only double crochet ribbing. Okay, and like I said, it needs to be 2 inches tall, so you will have to kind of play with how many stitches that you need to equal that 2 inches. And now you're going to keep doing that, working back and forth until you reach measurement A. Okay, so for the sweater I'm making is going to be 29 inches. So I'm just going to keep working my ribbing until I get to 29 inches. And that's for the back panel only, the 29 inches on the ribbing. Okay, I just finished the length of ribbing that I needed for the back panel, which is measurement A. I can't fit it all in here. And now we are going to work a row of single crochets across the top of the ribbing. So because we have done a double crochet ribbing and these are wide, you're going to do 2 single crochets for every row of the ribbing. So this is a row, 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 row. And so for every row you do 2 single crochets across the top. So you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to work 2 single crochets into that first row, 2 single crochets into the next row, and just work your way across. So I can't give you a total count of how many single crochets you're going to need, because everybody's going to have a different number of rows, but just make sure you do 2 single crochets for every double crochet row. I've just reached the end of my first row of single crochets, and now we're going to actually start the pattern. So you're going to chain 1. So our pattern is going to be a row of half double crochets and then a row of double crochets. And on the rows of the half double crochets, you only chain 1, and on the rows of the double crochet at the end, you chain 2. So this first row is going to be a half double crochet, so I just chained 1, and then I'm going to work a half double crochet into every single crochet from the previous row. So I'm not going into extreme detail about how to do a half double crochet. I do have other instructional videos that go a little bit slower, a little more in depth, how to do a half double crochet and a double crochet. So you can look at my other videos, but the half double crochet, you yarn over, go through the loop, pull up a loop, and then yarn over again and pull through all 3. So I'm at the end of my first half double crochet row, and then we're going to do a double crochet, and because it's a little bit taller than the half double crochet, we chain 2 instead of 1. And the double crochet, you yarn over, go through the loop, yarn over again, pull through, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, and then the last 2 loops. Okay, so same thing with this row. You just work your way across doing double crochets, and then we alternate half double crochet rows and double crochet rows, and on the half double crochet rows you just chain 1, and on the double crochet rows you chain 2, and you will continue that pattern until you get to measurement B, which is the length that you want your sweater. So I just finished the back panel, and I can't fit all of it in the video so you can see it, but here's my ribbing and my repeated rows, and I repeated the rows until I got to measurement B, which would be from your neck, your collar, to however far down you want it to go. Okay, so you're going to want to keep track of how many rows that you did, because you're going to repeat that for the front panel, the same number of rows on both the front panels. Okay, so now that we've reached the end, we're just going to cut a little bit of a length and fasten off and set it aside. And then I'm going to show you how to start the front panels. Okay, so they're basically made the same way as the back panel. You'll have your 2-inch ribbing on the bottom, and then you're going to work just not as wide of a panel, but just as long as the back panel. So how you figure out what width to make it is you're going to take measurement A, this measurement right here for the back panel, the width, okay? And then you're going to minus out the 4 inches of the ribbing that we're going to add at the end, okay? And then you divide that number by 2. So my measurement A was 28 inches, and then I took out 4 inches, that would be 24, and then divided it by 2. So my front panels are going to be 12 inches wide, okay? So the ribbing is done exactly the same way as this back panel. You're going to chain the same number of chains that you did for the ribbing on the back panel. You're just not going to work it as long. So this ribbing was 28 inches wide, and so this ribbing will be measurement C, whatever that width is going to be for you. So I'm not going to repeat how to make the ribbing. You can rewind the video and you'll just need to remember how many chains that you did and repeat that. And then you're going to work the width that you determined of C, okay? And then you do, again, 1 row of single crochets. And then you begin the pattern, which is half double crochet, half double crochet, and you're just going to repeat those rows until you get to measurement B, which is the length that you made the front panel. Okay, so also just a reminder, for the row of single crochets, you put 2 for every row of ribbing that you did. Okay, so if you did 12 rows of ribbing, then you're going to do 24 single crochets across the top. Okay, so once you have finished your first side panel, or excuse me, front panel, we're going to fasten off. So on the front panels, you're going to leave a length about triple your width, so we can use this to sew it on to the back panel. Okay, and you're gonna fasten off with just an extra long piece of string, and then you repeat this whole process for the other half of the front, and then we will start on the sleeve. So Barbie's gonna help me out again to help show you how to make the sleeve. So the first measurement you're going to need is your wrist circumference. That's going to be the ribbing down here, just all the way around your wrist. The next one is F. That is going to be your upper arm circumference, doubled or times 2. So anywhere up in here that is kind of the widest part of your arm, and you're going to double that. Okay, and then G is from your wrist to where you started your measurement A. So if you can remember, on the back panel, we kind of measured from here to here on Barbie with her arms down, okay? So G is going to be your wrist to where you started measurement A, okay? So it's not your whole arm, it's just to where measurement A started, okay? So just like the other pieces that we made, we start out with the ribbing, the same stitch count, the same initial chains, and then you are going to make it as wide as measurement E, okay? And then the first row, you're going to do a single crochet using, for every row of ribbing that you do 2 single crochet stitches, okay? So I have 12 rows, so there was 24 single crochets on this first row, okay? And the thing that's going to make this different than the other ones is that every row you are going to increase. The first and the last stitch gets 2 stitches, okay? Every row until you reach measurement F, okay? And once you've reached measurement F, then you just continue with the same stitch count, okay? And I will show you how to increase. So after you finish your ribbing, measurement E, then you do the single row of single crochets, 2 single crochets for every row of ribbing. So I had 12 rows and there's 24 single crochets on that first row. And now we're gonna start our pattern, which is the half double crochet and then the double crochet, half double, and repeat that. But for the sleeve, you're going to increase every row until you get to measurement F. And then once you get to measurement F, you can stop increasing and just use that number of stitches to continue, okay? So to increase, the first row is a half double crochet, so we chain 1, and then in that first stitch, you're going to do 2 half double crochets and work your way down the row. Okay, and now at the end of the row, the very last stitch, you're going to work 2 half double crochets. Okay, so that's how you increase the half double crochets, and you're going to do that on every row until you get to the width of F, and then you can stop increasing. So now we're going to do the double crochet row, which you chain 2 and turn, and in this first stitch, instead of only doing 1 double crochet, we do 2. Okay, and work your way down the row. Okay, and on your very last stitch at the end of this row, you do 2 double crochets into 1 stitch. Okay, so you're just going to repeat that half double crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, and at the first stitch and the last stitch you put 2 either half double crochets or double crochets at the beginning and at the end of the rows, and you repeat that until you get to the width that you want, and then you can stop increasing and just continue until you get the length of G. Okay, from here going up. When you get to G, then we will do what we do, leave like a very long length of yarn so that we can use this to sew it onto the sweater. Okay, you fasten off and use this very long length. And when you get done with both sleeves, then I will show you how to put the sweater together. Okay, by now you should have all 5 pieces made, 2 front panels, back panel, and then the 2 sleeves. Okay, so this is my back panel right here. These are my 2 fronts. I'm going to show you how that we're going to join those first. And I also want to, with this pattern, there is a distinct difference right here along the ribbing as to what I would consider front or back. Just make sure that with all your pieces, whatever you determine the front is, make all of the fronts on the outside. Okay, you can see right here the pattern. So I'm considering this the front and this the back, but just be consistent. Okay, you could consider this the back and this the front, but just make sure every piece that you're putting together, all the fronts are on the outside or all the fronts are on the inside. Okay, and we are going to put all of our pieces together with the mattress stitch. So I'm going to do this other side first, so let me get it to where you can see it a little better. Okay, so this side is what I consider the front, and this side is what I consider the front, and it is on the outside. Okay, both of them. So this, you're going to need your tapestry needle, and you're going to take your very long length, which should be about triple this width. Okay, and on the mattress stitch, you can get stitch markers and kind of line this up a little bit better, but you're going to go from the inside, the opposite side, the inside. So I'm starting on this side, so I go opposite. Okay, and then you go to the opposite side again from the inside out. So it kind of just looks like a shoelace. You're just tying up the edges. And you work your way from the inside. I'm not pulling it tight so that you can kind of see what it looks like. Inside to the outside. Okay. All right, and you're just gonna wanna not make it too tight, not make it too loose, just so it looks like it has merged. Okay, and you're gonna work that all along here and then fasten off. And then you're gonna do the same thing for the other side. And then once you get the two side panels hooked to the back, then you're gonna do the sleeve. Okay, so this is the seam I just did for the back panel and the front panel, okay? And now I'm gonna show you how to do the sleeve. So for the sleeve, you wanna fold it in half so that you can figure out where middle is, okay? And put a stitch marker there. And wherever you consider middle, you're going to line up with the seam that you just made for the front panel, okay? And then you will use the mattress stitch to stitch up this edge. And again, make sure that you have what you consider the front to be facing up or outside, okay? So that it's all consistent, all right? You're gonna do the same thing for the other side. So here is my string. I can't quite get this all in the shot here. Okay, there's what I consider middle. Here's my seam, joining them together so I don't lose my place. And I just lost my needle. And you want to lay everything out and just make sure it's not stretched. It's just laying normal, not bunched. Okay, and then you can also use a stitch marker to help you keep things straight. Make sure that you don't pull this side or this side and get it uneven, okay? And then you're going to take just like you did with the first seam. Now this length of yarn is a little bit longer since the sleeve is wider. And do the mattress stitch again, okay? So we're starting on this side, so we go to the opposite side and you work from the inside to the outside. And then we go to the opposite side, starting from the inside of the seam, going to the outside. Okay? And just work your way all the way across the sleeve and then fasten off. Okay? And then once you get the other sleeve done, I will show you how to put the whole thing together. When you put the whole sweater, once you've got the sleeves on, the front panels first, then the sleeves on, then we're gonna fold it and work along the side. And you're gonna have to cut triple the length from your sleeve edge all the way down your sweater to use that to seam up the sweater edge, okay? Because since we don't automatically have leftover yarn, okay? Okay, So I have folded the front panel, here's my front panel, over the back panel, lined up the sleeves, use stitch markers to kind of hold everything in place. Okay, and there's under the arm, working our way down the sweater. And this is the giant length of string yarn that I have used, and it's basically tripled in length from the wrist to the underarm and then down to the bottom of the sweater. Okay, so you can start on either end, doesn't make any difference. We will work this in when we get done, but you're going to take your length of yarn, work through both sides. Okay, and I use a slip knot to secure the yarn. Okay, so it's through both sides of the sleeve. You can use whatever knot you want to. Okay, and then tighten it down. All right, so now we got two little strands of yarn that we're going to have to work in at the end. Okay, and I have connected my very long piece of yarn, and then we do the mattress stitch just like we have done before. So we didn't really start on one side or the other, so I'm going to go from the inside to the outside of one of the sides. Kind of get it unwrapped from the stitch marker. There we go. And then work through the other side from the inside to the out. And you're going to work this the entire length of the sleeve. Okay. Work this seam to the armpit. Okay. And then all the way down to the bottom of the sweater, and do both sides. And then after we get the sides sewn up, then we're going to work on the ribbing around the inside of the sweater. Okay, now you should have your sweater put together, the shoulders, the sleeves. Okay, and now we're going to work on the ribbing around the inside of the sweater. Okay, so we're going to start on the bottom left-hand side. So if you put the sweater on, it would be the left-hand side, okay, the very bottom, and you're going to open it and kind of work from the inside, and we're going to do one row of single crochets around the edge before we start the ribbing, because it will make your life a lot easier. Okay, so we're going to attach, we're going to join the yarn. So you go through the first hole, pull your yarn through, and then slip stitch, make it tight. Okay, and we can weave in these two tails afterwards. So for my ribbing, I had 5 stitches, okay, and then I did one row of single crochets, and then I started the half double crochet, double crochet. So for every stitch of ribbing, I'm going to do 1 single crochet, so that would be 5 single crochets. And then for the 1 single crochet row, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. Half double crochet row, I'm doing 1. And for the double crochet row, I'm doing 2. Okay, and you're going to work your way all around the edge. When you get to the neck, you just continue the single crochets around. Okay, so as you're working up the side, you'll do 1 single crochet, 2, 1, 2 single crochets, and then when you get to the neck, then you just do a single crochet for every stitch. And then repeat that process down the other side, okay? So you want to end up with an even number of single crochets all around the edge. That's going to be a large number. And if you need to add a single crochet, take away a single crochet to make it an even number, I would do it on the neck section. It won't be as obvious that way, okay? So I have 5 stitches in my ribbing, so I'm doing 5 single crochets. One single crochet for that first row of single crochets, and then 1 single crochet for the half double crochet row, and then 2 single crochets for the double crochet rows. Okay, and just repeat that all the way around. Okay, so I just finished the single crochets all around the edge. Now I'm down to the right corner, and this is the outside, not the inside, okay? And now we're going to start the ribbing around the inside, okay? So, you're going to just repeat however you did the ribbing, how many stitches you did. So I had 5. Okay, and then I'm going to do my 2 for the turning chain, okay? And then I'm going to turn it and go into the 3rd stitch from my hook and do a double crochet down the row. And this is exactly what we did to start with. Okay, one more. All right, so here is my 5 stitches, okay? And now we're going to join it. Okay, here is the first stitch that we just did our ribbing out of, okay? And into the 2nd stitch, I'm going to do a slip stitch to secure it, okay? The first ribbing. And then for the next 2 stitches, to advance the ribbing, we'd slip stitch into 2 more. Okay, and then we're going to turn it. All right, and now we're going to work double crochets into the back loop only of the previous row. Okay. There's 1. 2, excuse me, 3, 4, and the last one. Okay, there's our 5 stitches, and you should get in the habit of counting these every time or putting a stitch marker in, because it's very easy to increase and decrease. So then we chain 2 for our turning chain and work back down the back loop, our 5 stitches. One more. Okay. And now we've got to secure it to the sweater, okay? So this may look like the next stitch, but it's actually the that we crocheted out of. So make sure that you advance, okay, to the next stitch and you slip stitch. Okay, so that one secures it. And then we advance two to start the next row. Okay. Oh, my yarn got twisted. Okay, so you can see a little bit better. All right, so you advance two. There's one, there's two, and then you turn it and then you work back down the row. And you're gonna do that all the way around, up to your neck and then down to the left side, okay? Okay, this is the bottom of the sweater. We started the ribbing over here on the right side, went all the way up. I don't know if I can bring it all the way up, let's see. Both sides. Here's the neck. Yep. And came all the way back down to this front left side. Okay. And now I'm going to fasten off. So cutting it. Pulling it through. Okay, and now we have all these itty bitty little tailings to weave in. Okay, move my stitch marker. So all the little tailings that you have left, we're going to work back in. Okay. Works better if you can work it back over itself. Okay. Don't pull it too tight. Okay, now I'm going back the opposite direction. And then one more time. Back the other way. Okay. Ooh, lost it. All right, and then once you have weaved in all your little tailings, you will be done. So I hope you enjoy your comfy sweater, and thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you again.